Most people think that their baby's health journey starts after the baby's birth. But the truth is, your baby's health journey starts months before conception with your health. And it's not just the mother's health that we're talking about here. The father's health matters just as much, if not more. Your baby's metabolism, stress resilience, and even mitochondrial health can be shaped months before conception. Let me explain the science. So we often put all the focus on the mother because she carries the baby. But here's something we don't talk about enough. Your child inherits half their DNA from the sperm. And sperm health is heavily shaped by the father's nutrition, lifestyle, and even emotional well-being. So if the dad is eating processed foods, is stressed, inflamed, and sleep deprived before conception, that epigenetic imprint gets carried forward into your next generations. On the other hand, if both parents focus on their physical and mental health before deciding to make a baby, their child can inherit the best possible epigenetic print. Let's look at the science a little bit deeper. Genetics versus epigenetics. So think of the genetics as the whole book, but epigenetics as the post-it notes stuck on that book telling your cells which pages to read. Epigenetics is also the way your environment, habits, even the stress that you're dealing with switches your genes on or off. Science recognizes that the sperm doesn't just bring DNA, it brings an epigenetic playbook that can influence early embryo development. In animal studies, sperm small RNAs can reprogram the child's metabolism, stress responses, and in fact, human studies are increasingly linking the father's health with epigenetic markers in your child. In simple words, what parents do way before conception can tune how the child's genes play out, not just which genes they're going to get. Okay, now let's talk about the mother. Other than the nuclear genes, we get our entire mitochondrial DNA from our moms. Mitochondria is the cell's energy plant. And that's the reason why mom's mitochondrial health, her diet, and her nutrition before conception are foundations to the baby's cellular health and metabolic health throughout the child's life. This is also the reason why many studies believe that each of us should be mapping our dietary choices to our mother's ancestral lineage and not our father's. So for example, if my mother's lineage comes from South India, then I'm probably better eating rice than eating grains like gluten or millets, which belongs to my father's ancestral lineage. Now, the father, the dad, contributes sperm DNA, and studies show that emotional trauma, stress, and poor diet can change how these genes are expressed in the next generation. Practically, this means your father's food quality, body composition, sleep, and stress that he was dealing with 3 months before conception could have left molecular fingerprints on his sperm that talks to the embryo while its development. And what about trauma and stress? In animal studies, paternal or the father's stress changed sperm small RNA and produces children with heightened stress sensitivity. So looks like emotional trauma can be passed down not just through family stories but biologically, especially from your dad. Which means an anecdotal takeaway is that if you want to begin healing your stored emotional trauma responses, look at your father's emotional stress patterns. Maybe this is why in our Vedic traditions, couples were advised to spend at least 6 months in peak health before conceiving, which meant eating clean, practicing discipline, and being emotionally grounded. Probably our ancestors understood epigenetics long before. But why months? Because sperm creation takes about 74 days end to end, so men can meaningfully upgrade sperm quality and its epigenetic markers over a quarter or 3 months. For women, mitochondrial quality and nutrient balance also needs time. So what does this mean? What can future parents actually do? Of course, number one is they need to work on their nutrition. Prioritize protein, the very building blocks of who we are. Whole foods, omega-3s, colorful vegetables. Optimize micronutrients like iron, zinc, folate, selenium, vitamin D. And exercise. Strength training and walking specifically after meals to optimize their insulin sensitivity. And very importantly, work on your emotional and mental health. Resolve traumas, practice gratitude, compassion, journaling, even therapy, because trauma unresolved today can echo into generations to come. And I shouldn't miss out sleep, because we've got to prioritize sleep. Deep restorative sleep is non-negotiable when it comes to hormonal health, both in men and women. Think of it this way: you're not just building a baby, you're building the foundation of your child's entire health span.